This loser, ugly, disgusting virgin is the ugliest at school with no brain and no riz. Until one day he went full Sigma mode and Riz is the hottest girl in class and succeeded. At a high school, TEHCNICAL is flawless, top of her class, a star athlete, and already student council president as a freshman. She's admired by students, respected by teachers, and seemingly untouchable, a true school idol. In contrast, Koshi is utterly average, with poor grades and little presence, barely noticed by anyone. They've known each other since childhood, but she's always been out of his league. Still, he can't help but admire her from a distance. As he heads to his usual quiet lunch spot, a dusty, unused sports supply room, he's unaware that TEHCNICAL's eyes follow him. Their world is about to shift. While checking his phone and dreading his latest math grade, the door creaks open. Startled, Koshi hides behind some boxes, peeking out only to freeze as he sees TEHCNICAL enter. Before he can make sense of it, she starts undressing, leaving him stunned and pressed against the wall in panic. His thoughts race as he tries not to look, wanting to respect her privacy, but the sound of clothes falling makes him glance despite himself. He freezes. TEHCNICAL isn't wearing any underwear. The shock hits him hard. The flawless, untouchable TEHCNICAL had somehow forgotten to wear undergarments to school. Panicked and flustered, he retreats, heart pounding, unable to forget what he just saw. As lunch ends and students return to class, Koshi tries to regain focus, but his mind keeps flashing back. When exams are returned, he braces for failure. But to his surprise, he passes. Then something even more unbelievable. TEHCNICAL scores a 98 instead of her usual perfect grade. The room goes quiet with murmurs. As he watches her, she suddenly starts taking off her underwear in class. Koshi stares, stunned, noticing how soft her skin looks. Then everything shifts. A butterfly appears, a door opens in empty space, and strange patterns ripple. In an instant, he's back, just about to get his test results. As he steps forward, he wonders if the bizarre moment was just a dream, hoping he still passed. On his first try, it already seemed too unlikely. Maybe he imagined it, maybe it was stress or déjà vu. But when he sees the score on the page, his stomach turns. It's exactly what he saw in his vision. As the teacher announces it, Koshi remembers TEHCNICAL getting a 98, but now there's no surprise because she scored a perfect 100. After class, Koshi realizes all the strange things today seem connected to TEHCNICAL, so he decides to confront her in the student council room. Nervously, he brings up the 98 score and suddenly the mood changes. Her calm demeanor turns cold and her presence becomes intense. Before he knows it, she's cornered him. TEHCNICAL guesses he saw her in the equipment room and presses him for answers. Then, with a smile, she says it's too late, and they'll need to strike a deal to keep her secret. Koshi panics, fearing she might get him expelled, and in his anxiety, he drops a cup of water she gave him, but she catches it just in time. Koshi quickly cleans up the spilled water, and when TEHCNICAL feels it's time, she starts undressing. Suddenly, Koshi is pulled into a dark space with a butterfly and a mysterious door. He sees a room full of clocks rewinding before snapping back to reality. TEHCNICAL is soaked. Stunned, Koshi can't process what happened. She tells him to drive her off, and as he awkwardly follows orders, she moves his hand to her chest. He focuses on how soft it feels, so she kicks him to snap him out of it. From the floor, he watches her lift her top and mention her underwear vanished. Before he can think, she confidently explains her power. Eternal Virgin Road, it rewinds time when she removes her underwear, which then vanishes from existence. In the storage room, Koshi struggles to concentrate, his thoughts spiraling as he tries and fails to focus. His eyes keep drifting to her, and the bizarre story she's telling only adds to the awkwardness, making it hard to comprehend. Yet TEHCNICAL speaks like it's completely normal. She recalls her power first appearing during a 5th grade sports festival when spoiled food left her in pain before a race she was expected to win. Slowed down, she lost for the first time, and to her horror, wet herself in front of everyone. Fleeing the embarrassment, she changed quickly, and suddenly time reversed. She found herself back at the finish line victorious. From then on, she believed her power existed to make sure she never loses. As Koshi listens, unease churns in his stomach. She clearly believes she's destined to always win. Now that she knows he can remember things others can't, she casually mentions the trouble of always carrying extra underwear, though she says she's finally found a fix. Koshi, with his ability to recall events before time resets, is seen as the ideal choice. TEHCNICAL wants to make him her closet. He freezes, thinking the offer is ridiculous, like she's turning him into her personal servant. His instincts tell him to run, but before he can move, TEHCNICAL steps in, promising that if he agrees, he won't be just another nobody. It'll finally matter. Still, Koshi refuses and heads for the door, but TEHCNICAL blocks him, causing them both to fall. Dazed, he's shocked as she grabs his hands and places them on her chest, making it look like he's groping her. Just as he starts to think she's tempting him into saying yes, she screams loudly. Students rush in, find them in a compromising position, and chaos erupts. Phones come out, the police are called, and Koshi is yanked away, realizing too late he's been set up. Panic sets in as authorities arrive, ready to take him away. TEHCNICAL finally speaks, her voice low and playful, asking if he wishes none of this had ever happened. Swallowing his pride, he pleads with her to use her powers. She smiles, eyes glinting with triumph. He's exactly where she wants him. With a subtle lift of her skirt revealing her underwear, she repeats the question. Does he want her to save him? The only condition, you must become her closet. Cornered, Koshi reluctantly agrees. The surreal realm of floating clocks and glowing lights returns, signaling a reset. Free of past events, TEHCNICAL relishes her win. She clearly lays out his new role, teasing him as if his servitude is a joke. For his first task, he must dress her in new underwear since the old pair vanished. She jokingly blames him, reminding him she removed them for his sake. When he hesitates, she firmly reminds him of his place. Nervously, he pulls pink, frilly underwear from her bag, hands shaking as he approaches. Despite the absurdity of the situation, the reality of what he's about to do settles in, and he knows he can't back out. Slowly, he kneels before her, his face flushed, cautiously lifting the fabric up her legs while avoiding unnecessary contact with her skin. TEHCNICAL observes him closely, noticing something odd. Even though he had openly ogled her earlier, he now keeps his eyes shut whenever he's in her presence. Despite her attempts to expose herself, he intentionally looks away, respecting her modesty even when she gave him no reason to. She comments that he's a gentleman, hinting at a previous encounter, but before Koshi can think further, she orders him to put on her undergarment, this time challenging him to do it with his eyes closed. Koshi can't forget the day he agreed to serve TEHCNICAL. It's a persistent memory, haunting him even in his sleep. He wakes up drenched in sweat, relieved it was just a nightmare, until a message from TEHCNICAL buzzes on his phone, reminding him of his duties, followed by a photo of her. As he walks through campus, he sees TEHCNICAL surrounded by admirers. The girl before him now is different from the one he remembers. He wonders whether the confident TEHCNICAL he knew is the real one or just a mask. Lost in thought, he's startled when TEHCNICAL greets him like an old friend, causing whispers among students, wondering why she'd noticed someone so ordinary. She leans in, telling him to report to the student council before homeroom. At the council office, Koshi avoids eye contact, focusing on her legs. She seems entertained by his discomfort and reassures him they're partners. TEHCNICAL hands him a small bag, and when Koshi pulls out her underwear, she casually says he should carry it for her to replace it when she uses her powers. He must put them on her afterward to save time if she needs to rewind. She lifts her skirt to show him, but Koshi stops her, prompting her to remind him of the incident she saved him from, which she could easily reverse. Reluctantly, Koshi agrees. TEHCNICAL promises a reward if he does well, ensuring no interruptions. She admits that showing her underwear is embarrassing, but she'll endure it. It's only him who sees. Koshi feels warmth for a moment, but knows better than to trust her. When he expresses doubt, she laughs and admits she's naturally manipulative. As they part ways, she casually reminds him to return the bag by day's end, warning not to keep any of her underwear. Later, in literature class, Koshi struggles to focus, his mind lingering on TEHCNICAL's strange influence, wondering how often she uses her power. Just then, the teacher calls on her, and she stands poised, ready to recite a poem. Her voice flows effortlessly, each word precise and clear, her delivery measured like someone accustomed to the spotlight. Her classmates are instantly captivated, hanging on her every word. By the time she finishes, the room hums with admiration, and even the teacher nods in approval. Koshi watches, seemingly relieved that no intervention is needed. At least, that's what he thinks. But when a breeze slips through the windows, the air shifts, growing unnervingly still, like the calm before a storm. Sensing the breeze will enhance her performance, she tells Koshi she'll use her ability, leaving him confused since her recitation already seems perfect. Without hesitation, she removes her underwear, and in that instant, a flash of light and a butterfly-like shape flicker as time rewinds. They return to the classroom, back at the moment she was called upon. This time, she pauses briefly, clearing her throat, waiting for the breeze to return before beginning again. Her timing is flawless. With the wind flowing, her voice seems to transcend reality, turning the recital into a living memory. The students are absorbed as though hearing the poem for the first time, not from the original poet, but from TEHCNICAL herself. As TEHCNICAL finishes speaking, silence fills the room before the students erupt into applause. She calmly returns to her seat, casting a victorious glance at Koshi, signaling that this wasn't about correcting a mistake, but exceeding perfection. Koshi feels the weight of the moment. TEHCNICAL tosses a crumpled paper at his head, reminding him of his duty. He hesitates, unsure of what to do in class, and decides to wait for the break to give her the underwear. TEHCNICAL shifts in her seat, subtly raising her skirt, pressuring him without a word. Koshi, horrified, realizes she's doing this on purpose to rush him. She points out an eraser he supposedly dropped, knowing full well it's in his case. Remembering her past manipulations, Koshi knows he must comply. The consequences of refusal are too high. He quietly retrieves the small bag from his desk, takes a pair of underwear, and slips it into his pocket. Nerves on edge, he approaches her desk, pretending to search for the eraser, crouching down and discreetly sliding the underwear onto her. Time drags as Koshi struggles to keep his hands steady, hoping no one notices his actions. When he's done, he quickly returns to his seat, trying to control his breath and calm the rush of adrenaline. Scanning the room, he expects someone to notice something unusual, but everyone is absorbed in the teacher or their notes. He exhales in relief, briefly smiling, feeling successful at being unnoticed. When the teacher mentions returning homework, Koshi relaxes, pleased with his subtlety. But when he glances at TEHCNICAL, he notices her discomfort. Looking down, he sees the underwear isn't fully on and panic rushes back. He wonders if she's aware, but the teasing in her gaze confirms she is. She knows and expects him to fix it. If he ignores it, the underwear could fall off when she stands, ruining her image, or worse, she could twist the situation to blame him, ruining his future. Koshi hesitates, debating whether to let her control him. He did his part and she should fix it herself, but before he can act, the teacher calls her name as she stands. Koshi walks to the front, quickly apologizing to the teacher for a mistaken introduction. The teacher, slightly confused but not bothered, asks him to return TEHCNICAL's homework. Koshi does so, embarrassed by being manipulated again. TEHCNICAL, calm and pleased, smiles knowingly and says thank you. He starts to leave, wanting space to calm down, but before he can move, TEHCNICAL locks her legs around his ankles, trapping him. Without raising her voice, she quietly orders him to finish the task properly. Koshi freezes, making sure no one is watching. Once he's certain it's safe, he kneels to adjust the undergarment he mishandled, the moment feeling surreal. TEHCNICAL says nothing, but her expression changes slightly, her body tense and eyes half-lidded. She seems oddly affected by the closeness, but Koshi is too focused to notice. Just as he's finished, someone calls his name, causing TEHCNICAL to let out a quiet, unexpected sound. Koshi turns, confused, but she quickly looks away, her cheeks flushed and composure slipping. Back in the student council room, TEHCNICAL commends Koshi for completing his tasks without being caught and congratulates him on his successful first day as her assistant. Koshi, still tense from the day's events, admits he nearly fainted from the stress. Surprisingly, TEHCNICAL apologizes for pushing him so hard, her tone unusually gentle. Curious, Koshi asks what she would have done if he hadn't delivered her paper earlier. With a smirk, TEHCNICAL confesses she had no backup plan, fully confident he would help. She then flips the question on him, asking why he did it. Koshi stumbles, unsure of his reasons, prompting TEHCNICAL to suggest it's because he doesn't want anyone else to see her underwear but him. Her bold remark leaves him speechless, and though he tries to deny it, he's at a loss for words. TEHCNICAL, amused, says she wouldn't mind if he were a bit possessive. Embarrassed, Koshi changes the subject by mentioning a strange sound she made earlier. She quickly denies it, brushing it off. That night, TEHCNICAL carefully packs her bag for the next day, selecting her underwear with more thought than usual, considering which pair Koshi might like. The teacher asks TEHCNICAL to deliver a tall stack of activity books to another class. She agrees immediately, her face calm and composed. Some classmates, eager for a moment of her attention, quickly volunteer to help. From his seat, Koshi observes how naturally admired she is. As she refuses their help and heads out, Koshi suddenly feels time rewind. Before he can react, they're back at the moment the offers were first made. Alarmed, he stands, realizing TEHCNICAL expected him to step up. Remembering her strict words about his role as both her servant and confidant, he rushes to her and offers to carry the books. Once alone in the hallway, she firmly but calmly scolds him for hesitating. She reminds him that she doesn't use her power for minor changes. Every rewind has purpose, and he must be prepared, not reactive. Koshi reflects on his commitment to support her and protect her secret. They split the books and walk on, soon surrounded by admirers. Even outside class, TEHCNICAL is revered, but what amazes Koshi most is how effortlessly she manages it all. She doesn't just reject their assistance, she praises their recent successes, addressing each student by name and offering thoughtful encouragement. Koshi walks beside her, quietly surprised by her attentiveness. Later, alone in a quiet room, TEHCNICAL gently scolds him again, reminding him to better read her cues and support her smoothly. As they continue their task, Koshi tries to shift the topic from his faults, instead complimenting how effortlessly she managed the group. She accepts the praise, saying it's expected for someone aiming for a future in the AV industry. Her role as student council president, she adds, goes beyond appearances. It's about forming real connections and making a meaningful impact. Koshi grows more intrigued when he realizes she had called everyone by name. He asks if she truly knows them all, and she proudly confirms, explaining she made it a point to learn each student's name and background after becoming president. If they remember her, she feels it's only right to do the same. As they head back to class, Koshi trails behind, watching her, feeling a quiet mix of admiration and warmth. He doesn't fully grasp her reasons yet, but a part of him begins to trust her sincerity. Then TEHCNICAL, descending the stairs, casually recites Koshi's full student profile, including embarrassing details like his weak resolve, poor grades, and lack of friends. He protests that her version of a simplified profile includes way too much information. Koshi's comment earns him a sharp glare from TEHCNICAL, as if accusing him of overanalyzing her interest in his file. Realizing he may have gone too far, he quickly apologizes, but she uses the moment to tease him, calling him a pervert and hinting he's more attracted to her than he lets on. Embarrassed, Koshi denies it and walks ahead to escape the tension. Not letting him off easily, TEHCNICAL lightly kicks him, making him stumble. She blocks his path and provocatively asks what he'd do if she let him see her body. When he avoids answering, she pushes further by getting on top of him and repeating the question. Flustered, Koshi almost slips with a truthful reply but recovers, saying he'd rather know her better first. Amused, TEHCNICAL laughs, says she was joking, then teases that maybe he's open to dating her. Still dazed, Koshi follows her, trips again, and knocks himself out. He wakes in the infirmary with TEHCNICAL beside him, explaining she had to rewind time slightly to lessen the injury, but they still ended up in the nurse's office. She then pulls him close again. Now resting on her lap, she casually resumes their chat, realizing he genuinely wants to know her better. Koshi suddenly panics. Class is over. He's missed his remedial sessions, especially gym, which he'd been working hard to improve in. Seeing his struggle, TEHCNICAL unexpectedly steps in and offers to oversee the class, surprising everyone. Her presence energizes the group, pushing them to try harder, while Koshi falls behind despite his effort. She calls him over, corrects his form, and tries to help, but her closeness distracts him. She snaps him out of it, urging him to focus. Even with her help, he finishes last and misses the time cutoff. The others mock him, and he's devastated. Calmly, TEHCNICAL declares they'll redo it until he succeeds. As the run restarts, Koshi hesitates, unsure if he should return to his usual duties, but she tells him to focus on the run. Minutes in, he's exhausted and ready to quit, until she rides up beside them on a bike, cheering everyone on, giving her all just to support him. He feels a stab of guilt. He wanted to do well, and now she's helping him try again. Then he notices TEHCNICAL standing on her bike pedals, her skirt blowing up in the wind. Koshi panics. The guys behind might see too much. Without thinking, he rushes ahead as she passes, pushing his tired body to block their view. Suddenly, the finish line appears, and he crosses it before realizing, then collapses, completely out of breath. TEHCNICAL approaches and reminds him to do his duty. Still panting, he helps her with the undergarment and is stunned when she says he came in first. He hadn't even noticed. He was so focused on shielding her that he beat everyone. He admits it feels good, even if he's not at her level. She seems happy with his progress and says it's time to head home. Later, Koshi realizes he still has her bag. He thinks about returning it tomorrow, but gets curious about what's inside. Just as he tries to peek, his phone rings. It's TEHCNICAL casually asking about the bag and mentioning she can't run without it. Koshi senses she wants him to bring it over, and since she lives close, he agrees. Before leaving, he wonders if this is a test. If he can play his role as a proper closet, something that should only apply to school. Anything more might be crossing a line. TEHCNICAL doesn't need a closet at home, let alone a helper. But then Koshi's phone lights up with a series of flirty, suggestive images from her, each with a playful message saying how badly she needs them, complaining nothing else satisfies. She urges him to hurry, claiming she can't focus without it. Then another photo arrives. She's already outside. Koshi looks closer and realizes she's without her undergarments, and panic sets in. He imagines the worst, but quickly reminds himself TEHCNICAL is far from defenseless, sharp, strong, and more than capable. Still, the instinct to protect her takes over. He rushes to the park and finds her calmly sitting on a bench. She scolds him for being late, then thanks him sweetly, noting he's acting like her closet even outside school, something she seems amused and pleased by. She teases him, clearly enjoying how flustered he got imagining the possibilities. Koshi insists he only came because he was genuinely concerned and felt it was his duty to look out for her. TEHCNICAL goes quiet, turns away, her cheeks pink. Koshi worries he upset her, but she soon faces him with a rare, sincere smile and thanks him genuinely. He freezes, everything seems to slow, until she shifts the mood again, saying he should feel lucky to see this side of her. Koshi is unsure how to react, quietly wondering if he's only important because he remembers her gift. Still, he doesn't want to give up his place beside her. Before he can overthink it, TEHCNICAL snaps him out of it, asking if it's really okay for him to keep caring. She reaches for her bag, and when he gives it to her, she notices how warm it is. He had held it the whole way. With a smirk, she teases him about it, implying something scandalous. Koshi turns red, stammering, while she laughs and walks ahead, clearly amused, with him trailing behind, still trying to defend himself. Swim class kicks off with a burst of excitement. TEHCNICAL easily beats a seasoned member of the school's swim team, impressing everyone with her effortless speed. Despite the loud cheers, she seems unsatisfied and abruptly demands a rematch. Before Koshi can react, time rewinds, pulling them back to the starting line. This time, TEHCNICAL switches to the backstroke. Koshi observes her graceful movements, but the new angle makes it harder for him to stay composed. Realizing he's been staring, he quickly looks away, flustered. Once again, TEHCNICAL wins handily and strides over to Koshi, immediately confronting him about not questioning her reset. Embarrassed, he mumbles that he didn't have a chance. She explains it wasn't just about winning, it was about leaving a stronger impression, with the backstroke adding flair. Leaning closer, she teasingly asks if he preferred it, catching him off guard before mercilessly teasing him for getting caught looking. Kakashi's ears flush red as he hurriedly tries to steer the conversation elsewhere. He awkwardly asks TEHCNICAL how she used her ability while swimming, noting she didn't seem to be wearing anything underneath. Amused, TEHCNICAL tells him to look closer, revealing she had on a special garment to keep things hidden. Flustered, Koshi struggles to hide his embarrassment. Smirking, TEHCNICAL tells him to meet her after class. That afternoon, they end up at a department store, where Koshi awkwardly lingers in the women's lingerie section. TEHCNICAL, enjoying his discomfort, mischievously tells him to pick something out, since he has to dress her anyway. Trying to avoid more teasing, Koshi blindly grabs a set, only to realize he's chosen something extremely racy, making him squeak in horror. Flushed, he quickly puts it back and browses more carefully. Eventually, he finds a simple light blue set that feels right. Handing it to TEHCNICAL, she raises an eyebrow and asks why he chose it. Koshi, wary of more teasing, simply shrugs and says it was nothing special. TEHCNICAL announces she'll try it on and, to Koshi's surprise, yanks him into the fitting room. She casually reassures him that her dark tights will keep things appropriate. Still, Koshi, flustered, averts his gaze and blushes. Amused by his reaction, TEHCNICAL playfully taunts him, prompting Koshi to faint from embarrassment. Though initially concerned, she soon bursts out laughing when he comes to, mocking him for overreacting. Later, trapped in an elevator with TEHCNICAL pressing him against the wall, she demands to know why he chose that particular underwear. Red-faced, Koshi explains the color reminded him of the sky and sea, perfect for someone as elegant and aloof as her. Feeling foolish, he panics, but when the doors open, TEHCNICAL simply leaves. Regretting his awkwardness, Koshi runs after her and asks if she even likes it. She quietly admits she does, mainly because she enjoys watching him work. The next day, Koshi, battling a cold, barely makes it through school. As he staggers out, TEHCNICAL catches him before he falls and insists on walking him home. At his place, impressed by his tidy room, she can't resist snooping and even opens his laptop. Disappointed by the boring contents, she's caught when Koshi slams it shut, accusing her of ulterior motives. Unbothered, TEHCNICAL claims she only helped him because his illness would inconvenience her. Learning he hasn't been eating, she scolds him and declares she'll cook, teasing that she'll only wear an apron to encourage him. Laughing at his flustered face, she jokes about personally feeding him and wiping his sweat. As Koshi's face reddens, TEHCNICAL playfully hints he might have energy for more than just resting. Flustered, he tries to push her out, warning she might catch his cold. Pausing, TEHCNICAL casually uses her power. Suddenly, Koshi is seated by a table with a hot meal ready. From the doorway, she quickly gives instructions and promises to check on him later. Koshi suspects she rewound time to erase her teasing, but the food proves her care. Hesitantly tasting it, he's surprised by how good it is, even without an appetite. As he eats, he wonders if her kindness is just because he's her closet, or if it means more. After finishing, he crawls into bed, only for TEHCNICAL to quietly return, gather the dishes, and to his shock, slip under the covers. When he demands an explanation, she calmly says it's to keep him warm, using her ability again before he can object. Later, she casually mentions she retook their PE class, careful not to sweat around him. She brushes off his awkwardness and teases him about preferring a sweeter scent, frustrating him. Despite his protests, TEHCNICAL stays close, joking she's like a warm water bottle. Panicking over how close she is, Koshi struggles to keep calm. She eventually apologizes for teasing, gently pulling his head to her chest, explaining that skin contact releases oxytocin. Embarrassed but comforted, Koshi relaxes, realizing there's a softer, more sincere side to her beneath her playful facade. As he drifted to sleep, Koshi muttered a question about her strange kindness, suspecting it might be a trap. Caught off guard, TEHCNICAL paused, quietly asking what answer he wanted, but Koshi was already asleep. Blinking in surprise, she softened and left for home alone. When a group of kids rushed by, a memory struck her. As a child, she had always been isolated, walking home alone. One day, she fed a stray cat, and young Koshi, clumsy yet kind, had offered his milk too. Later, lying on her bed, she reflected on his question. Kuro, the same black cat from her past, nuzzled her, and as she played with him, she found it silly to think she faked kindness just to keep Koshi close. Meanwhile, Koshi woke, saw her message saying food was in the fridge, and reheated the meal. As he ate, the warmth reminded him of her earlier care, and he found himself wondering again about her confusing mix of teasing and sincerity. During her usual walk to school, Koshi suddenly remembers a crucial homework is due. Missing it would mean summer remedial classes. He panics, but TEHCNICAL, oddly concerned for the teachers more than him, offers to help during lunch if he agrees to a condition that makes him instantly refuse. She hints that their recent run might have awakened a new determination in him, but reminds him not to slack on his duties as her closet. All day, Koshi struggles to focus, hiding his notes and battling anxiety. Mid-class, he watches as TEHCNICAL, nudged by the teacher while writing on the board, nearly rewinds time to fix a small mistake, but instead adapts it into a clever, valid answer, impressing the class. Later, he overhears her being thanked for a smartwatch gift idea. The girl mentions a newer version came out after. TEHCNICAL hesitates, tempted to reset the day, but ultimately holds back again. Instead, she takes out her phone and suggests a straightforward modern fix, trade-ins. In class, Koshi keeps watching her. She shows faint signs, brief pauses, clearly wrestling with the temptation to use her power. By the final bell, Koshi proudly turns in his homework, relieved. As he exits the teacher's office, he spots TEHCNICAL nearby, unsteady, a slight flush on her face. Worried, he hurries to her. She wakes him off, claiming there's nothing she'd change about today. But Koshi isn't convinced. He crouches beside her, gently urging her to use her ability if it would help her feel better. She stubbornly declines, insisting the day went well. Eventually, though, she admits she was afraid that rewinding might stop him from finishing his assignment. Koshi stays firm, urging her to undo the strain the day placed on her. She agrees, but only if he's the one to trigger her ability. Even then, she tries once more to stop him, reminding him he'd have to redo everything. Koshi, more self-assured than usual, says it's okay. He knows the answers now and can finish quicker. What matters is her well-being. TEHCNICAL looks at him, then nods. Koshi, a bit anxious, closes his eyes and activates her power. The familiar dizzying wave of time reversal engulfs them both. When the rewind ends, Koshi notices everything is the same. It's still the end of the school day. Confused, he asks TEHCNICAL why they didn't go further back. She calmly explains she only rewound a few minutes, not wanting him to redo all his hard work. Wanting to avoid a repeat, she offers to help him with his summer homework. True to her word, she tutors him at her house during the break. One day, after several mistakes, she rewinds time to let him try again, casually mentioning her mom's absence and how she'd make things more guest-friendly. That's when Koshi realizes they're alone, and being near someone like TEHCNICAL, gorgeous and unpredictable, makes him nervous. As he tries to refocus, she suddenly appears behind him, corrects him again, and rewinds time. Later, seeing he's only halfway through, she teases him about stalling to be with her. Flustered, he denies it, and she offhandedly remarks that they're not actually alone. There's a third inhabitant, her cat. Koshi expresses interest in meeting it, but explains he can't own one because his mom is allergic. He politely asks if he can still meet her cat, hoping it'll give them a break from their intense studying. She initially declines, warning he'll only get distracted again. Koshi negotiates, saying seeing the cat will help him work faster. With a reluctant sigh, she gets up to fetch the pet, mumbling something he doesn't quite catch. To his surprise, when she returns, she's not holding a cat. Instead, she's wearing cat ears and a collar. She casually says her real cat is outside, so she'll play the role to motivate him. She immediately starts acting like a cat, stretching and lounging, her expression playful. Flustered, Koshi struggles to focus on his work. Amused, TEHCNICAL gets closer, trying to get a reaction. Eventually, Koshi, overwhelmed, asks her to stop. Noticing his reddening face, she smiles, satisfied, but admits she's enjoying herself too much to stop completely. Teasingly, she gets onto his lap like a relaxed cat. Despite the distractions, Koshi finishes the homework by evening. When she walks him to the door, TEHCNICAL complains they only managed one worksheet all day. Nonetheless, Koshi thanks her sincerely, grateful for her help. As he opens the door to leave, both are met with the sound and sight of heavy rain. TEHCNICAL quickly insists he stay, mentioning the forecast predicted rain all night. Koshi, trying to be courteous, offers to sleep in the hallway, but TEHCNICAL mentions a spare room. She casually says she'll warm up some food and jokes about helping him bathe. Just then, they hear a noise from another room. Tak's real cat has returned. She offers to bring him out so Koshi can meet him. Returning with a sleek black cat, she introduces him as Kuro. Koshi's eyes light up, and TEHCNICAL watches, hoping for recognition, but he simply compliments the cat's grooming and shiny fur. TEHCNICAL freezes in disappointment as the room suddenly goes dark from the rain. She quickly recovers, brushing off the shock and assuring him that the power should return soon, suggesting they make the best of it. She sits back on her bed and asks Koshi to entertain her with a story. Disappointed by his hesitation, she narrows her request to a story from their elementary school days, admitting she doesn't remember much about him. Hoping to trigger a specific memory, she brings up what he used to do after school, clearly wanting him to recall the rainy afternoon with a small black cat. But Koshi just smiles, reminiscing about playing monster hunting games at friends' houses. Frustrated, TEHCNICAL urges him to dig deeper for more meaningful memories. Koshi simply shrugs, saying those afternoons with friends were his best memories. Annoyed, TEHCNICAL gets up and grabs a water bottle, drinking deeply and letting water spill on the floor before pointing to it with her toe, telling him he can have some if he's thirsty. Koshi watches, confused by the subtle hostility. She lies back on her bed and demands another story. When he starts one about a childhood nickname, she interrupts and he feels overwhelmed, realizing she won't let him gather his thoughts. He politely asks to shower just to get a break. She agrees and goes to prepare it, giving him a brief moment of calm. While she's gone, he pets Kuro, savoring the quiet. But when she returns, she casually mentions she used the last towels. Hours later, still unsure what to say, he sees her asleep. With Kuro curled up on his lap, a memory surfaces. He softly recounts a rainy day from his past, sharing food with a girl and a stray black cat. TEHCNICAL stirs, smiling gently. Eventually, he remembered, not fully. He spoke warmly with the girl and the cat, but didn't link them to the present. With her back to him, TEHCNICAL asked why he didn't consider that day a favorite. Koshi admitted the girl had confessed her feelings, but he'd been too shocked to reply. After that, both she and the cat disappeared. He returned to the spot they'd met, but it was always deserted. Turning to him with eager eyes, TEHCNICAL asked what he'd do if he saw the girl again. When Koshi asked if she knew who the girl was, hope flickered in her eyes, then faded. She hid her disappointment, choosing not to correct him. Even if he hadn't realized it, the memory still lingered. A sudden clap of thunder startled her, and though she joked that he was scared, another burst of lightning made her leap into his arms. Koshi fell but stayed still as she held onto him. He finally understood she hadn't stayed out of duty, but because she didn't want to face the storm alone. Flustered yet soothed, she buried her face in his shoulder, muttering that he should forget it. As thunder rolled again, still holding him, TEHCNICAL let a small, hidden smile appear. After what feels like ages, the lights flicker back on. TEHCNICAL casually gets up and says she'll cook dinner, but only for herself, still annoyed at Koshi for forgetting their past. But noticing his gloomy expression, she changes her mind and makes enough for two. Before heading out, she suggests a game to lift the mood. They'll act like newlyweds. The rules are simple: stay in character or face a penalty. TEHCNICAL declares the punishment to be eternal singleness, which rattles Koshi. Unbothered, she jokes that with his current love life, he has nothing to lose, then exits, teasing him to join her when ready. A bit later, Koshi enters the kitchen and is surprised to see her in an apron. He instinctively calls her by her formal school title, nearly losing the game, but she lets it pass as a first mistake. She reminds him that newlyweds should be closer, nudging him to use a nickname like how she calls him Honey. Unsure, he just says TEHCNICAL, which embarrasses him due to its intimacy, though she responds easily, like it's natural. Flustered, he tells her she should wear safer clothes while cooking. She flirts back, suggesting he help her change and gives him the task. Once done, she asks him to stir the sauce so it doesn't burn. Wanting to be helpful, he stirs, but keeps stealing glances at her. TEHCNICAL's presence is overwhelming. When the stew begins to scorch, she swiftly rewinds time just enough to fix it. She chides Koshi for being hopeless in the kitchen, but with her help, they finally finish the meal. Koshi is amazed by the variety and praises her cooking. Sitting close beside him, she insists on feeding him the first bite. Flustered, he declines, but she playfully reminds him they're pretending to be married. A drop of sauce lands on her leg and Koshi panics, fearing it might burn her. Pouting, she pretends to be upset, not by pain, but by wasted food, then shockingly suggests he lick it off. Stunned, Koshi freezes, and before he can react, she secretly rewinds time to erase her words. When he snaps out of it, she's already grinning, teasing him about missing his chance. Still confused, he wonders how she used her power unnoticed. She tugs on her apron with a smirk, warning him to stay alert or she'll keep outsmarting him, then assures him she never let him do it anyway. After dinner, he thanks her, claiming it was delicious, though he barely tasted a thing through all the tension. TEHCNICAL says she'll run a bath, and Koshi offers to handle the dishes so she can enjoy it first. She pauses, glances back, and proposes they bathe together since they're married. Koshi quickly declines, telling her to go ahead while he waits until morning, ending the game. Realizing how sincerely flustered he is, she stops teasing and lets him bathe first. As Koshi washes up, he spots TEHCNICAL's shampoo and, drawn by curiosity, slowly reaches for it. Just before touching it, the door opens and TEHCNICAL walks in. Startled, Koshi tries to scold her for pushing the game too far, but she smirks, having caught him mid-act. She grabs the shampoo and jokingly offers it as a keepsake. Embarrassed, he avoids eye contact, thinking the worst, until she casually mentions she's in a swimsuit. Still too flustered to look at her, he says he'll leave once he's done, but she's not finished teasing. Slipping back into her role, she insists that it's a wife's duty to wash her husband's back. Reluctantly, Koshi agrees and tries to stay composed, reminding himself it's all pretend. That illusion crumbles when her hands softly touch his back. He freezes, mind racing, as she leans in and whispers, genuinely surprised by how toned he is. Koshi, overwhelmed and desperate to stay focused, starts reciting prime members, but the tactic fails when something soft touches his back. Nervously glancing behind him, he sees TEHCNICAL has wedged balloons there to avoid direct contact. Once she finishes rinsing him, he quietly breathes a sigh of relief until she steps in front and casually offers to wash his hair. Koshi weakly objects, saying they agreed on just his back, but she calmly reminds him she never said that's where she'd stop. Resigned, he sits still as she lathers his hair, struggling to stay composed, until she mentions using her own shampoo. Overcome by flustered thoughts, he blurts an excuse and plunges into the bath to cool off. TEHCNICAL starts to tease him and pauses, sensing she's gone too far. With a softened look, she quietly exits, leaving him alone to unwind. That night, restless in the guest room, he wonders why she always pushes limits. Just then, she calls from the hallway, reminding him to set his alarm. Moments later, she enters, climbs on top of him, and playfully declares her superiority as a higher being. As he looks up, he realizes it was all a cover. She's just scared of the thunder. As Koshi looks up at TEHCNICAL towering over him, he accepts the reality. He'll never beat her at anything. A few days later, they're on patrol during the summer fireworks festival. TEHCNICAL is already there in a stylish yukata when Koshi arrives. Though if he's on time, she reminds him she's always 5 minutes early, so as her top aide, he should have been 10 minutes early. Without wasting time, she leads them through student hangouts. Koshi trails behind, captivated by her poise. After a while, she declares it's safe for a break and asks Koshi to assist with her power prep. He's puzzled since she hasn't used it, but she explains she forgot her usual prep at home. Koshi hesitates, uneasy about the crowd, but she reassures him no one's watching. She fakes a request for him to fix her sandals, giving him cover to help. When he does, she thanks him sweetly, so warmly it catches him off guard. He secretly enjoys this softer side of her. As fireworks near, she suggests they find a viewing spot. On the way, Koshi overhears whispers assuming they're a couple. The thought embarrasses him. He's certain TEHCNICAL wouldn't appreciate the mix-up. He briefly wonders what it would be like to actually date her, assuming she'd still be in charge and boss him around. As they walk past a couple, Koshi overhears the girl asking her boyfriend to hang out after the fireworks, making him imagine how that moment would go if it were him and TEHCNICAL. His thoughts are cut off when she suddenly calls his name. After confirming the area is clear, she uses her power to rewind time, giving herself another chance to scan for trouble before the show begins. They restart their patrol, but this time, she leads him to a different location filled with adult couples. Koshi spots one pair openly kissing, and beside him, TEHCNICAL asks for a drink, wanting a quick rest. He steps back slightly, assuming she saw the same couple and might tease him. Nervously, he pulls out a bottle of tea, momentarily picturing a romantic scene where they share it. She calls his name again, asking why he's stalling. When he offers the tea, she turns it down and instead requests his help with her power again. The cycle continues through the night. After each patrol, TEHCNICAL rewinds time and leads them somewhere new. Koshi notices her growing quieter with each round. Eventually, they find themselves alone in a secluded area. Koshi starts to suspect he might be behind her shifting attitude. He reflects and realizes her mood always dips after a break, right before she resets time again. It occurs to him that she might be trying to say something important, searching for the right moment with each restart. He dismisses the idea, thinking he's just reading too much into things. Besides, she'd scold him for spacing out. Suddenly, fireworks burst overhead. TEHCNICAL asks for his opinion, and Koshi, flustered, calls it beautiful. She lets out a small laugh at his awkwardness. As the sky glows with color, Koshi looks at her, amazed. In that instant, she's as stunning as the display above. When it ends, she calmly suggests they head back. One summer evening, TEHCNICAL calls Koshi and invites him to an open campus event. Though exams are still a year away, she's eager to see if the university suits her. Koshi agrees, but feels intimidated by the school's elite status. When she casually asks about his future, he's caught off guard, unsure of his goals. Before he can answer, she jokes that as her closet, it's his role to follow her, which unsettles him. It could mean going to the same university or doing nothing at all. She shrugs it off, saying she only cares that he stays by her side. Later, she video calls him to show off new clothes she bought online, teasing him and blaming him for inspiring her interest in the style during a past shopping trip. She gives him a full view, warns him not to hang up, and playfully suggests he join her at the university to see her outfits daily, even mentioning a club that celebrates the look. Koshi, blushing deeply, urges her to stop joking and insists she never join a club like that, even in jest. Amused by his concern, TEHCNICAL changes tactics. She adjusts her phone, speaks clearly into the camera, and tells him to enroll at her university so he can act as her personal assistant and protector, promising a reward for his loyalty. Koshi feels trapped, knowing she's deliberately challenging him, aware of his grades. Suddenly, her cat Kiro knocks the phone, briefly revealing a flustered TEHCNICAL. She quickly hangs up, later texting that the rare glimpse was his first payment, and now she expects him to pass the entrance exam. When the weekend comes, Koshi arrives on campus early, hoping to make a good impression. Soon after, TEHCNICAL appears, instantly drawing attention with her elegance. She suggests they look around before orientation. As they walk, Koshi trails behind, noticing how many people, especially guys, stare at her. Watching her effortlessly navigate the campus, he realizes she truly fits in. Noticing his distracted gaze, TEHCNICAL teases him to focus on the school, not just her. She remarks that while the campus is impressive, her college experience might hinge on him. Her comment catches Koshi off guard, and before he can respond, TEHCNICAL imagines what might happen if he doesn't join her. Without his support as her closet and protector, everything could fall apart. Annoyed, Koshi replies that she can just fix any issues with her power. Disappointed he isn't playing along, she drops the joke and revisits the question she asked earlier about his future. Taken by her sudden seriousness, Koshi admits he plans to work after graduation to help his financially struggling family, especially with his sister starting high school. Touched, TEHCNICAL suggests he find a part-time job so he can still assist her. Without waiting for his response, she walks toward the auditorium, noting orientation is starting. As they cross campus, she briefly zones out, missing Koshi calling her, but regains focus as they enter the hall. Once inside, she promptly asks if top students receive any special benefits. TEHCNICAL's confidence catches everyone off guard, especially since she hasn't even enrolled yet. A staff member mentions that while nothing is certain, some professors do recommend top students for jobs. Koshi is struck by how focused she is, until she abruptly activates her power, rewinding time to the beginning of the orientation and asking the same question again. When Koshi asks why, she says she used the word institution instead of university, and it bothered her. Sitting down, she gestures to her skirt, reminding Koshi of his duty. Flustered, he kneels to assist. Eyes shut out of respect, but does it incorrectly. Calmly, she corrects him, though her slight movements make it difficult. After the orientation and campus tour, they head for the exit. Though pleased with the day, Koshi brings up her decision to rewind time over a single word. She explains, as always, that perfection matters, especially for someone aiming to become a god. Koshi sighs, knowing there's no point in arguing. In a softer tone, she adds that she simply wants their time together to be meaningful, especially if he ends up working to support his family. The remark unsettles Koshi. He'd assumed that no matter his choice, his service to her was non-negotiable. TEHCNICAL is mildly annoyed by his assumption and sharply tells him she was clearly joking. She won't make him tag along if he has other plans, but reminds him not to get ahead of himself. They still have nearly a year left, and she plans to make full use of it. Calmly, she walks away. Koshi watches her go, recalling the past months as her personal servant. Their deal was always temporary, and he should feel relieved it's ending soon, but instead he feels an unexpected sadness at her casual mention of their eventual separation. The next day, during summer break, students are unexpectedly called to school. Running on little sleep and still thinking about her words, Koshi is distracted until a stir behind him draws his attention. TEHCNICAL is approaching, turning heads with her looks. He greets her wearily, noticing a hint of gloom before she quickly masks it with her usual confident demeanor. As they walk, he sees people staring oddly at her. Looking closer, he realizes her outfit is slightly off. Embarrassed, he moves to block others' view and quietly points it out. She soon notices her reflection in a nearby window. With no shame, she casually claims her odd outfit is an eco-conscious choice to cut emissions, then readjusts her uniform and walks ahead. Koshi watches, baffled. TEHCNICAL is bold and quirky, but this feels off. Brushing it off, he follows, soon noticing more strangeness. She's missing a sock and clumsily handling her train pass. Worried, he boards with her. The train's unusually crowded, but she shrugs it off, reminding him that workers ride too. As she lectures him, Koshi silently vows to cover for her if she's having a rough day. That promise is tested when he spots something odd about her blouse. She jokes when he stares, then admits it's an old uniform she grabbed because the others were dirty. When she shifts, the blouse catches in the train door and rips. Koshi rushes to shield her, apologizing. She says nothing, simply rewinds time. Suddenly, it's 7:00 a.m., and everything begins again. Only now she's flawless. Everything about her seems normal, no awkward moments, no odd actions, just her usual confident self. No one notices anything, but Koshi, now aware, can't forget what he saw. Her hidden expressions weren't his imagination, they were real. He starts to think she might be sad or hurt that their time is running out. Even if she acts unfazed, it's obvious they've grown close. The idea of parting feels wrong, and Koshi feels it too. The thought tightens his chest, so he vows to find more time with her. Standing at the cram school, he doubts if the extra study hours will be enough to get into the same university as TAC, and even if he does, the tuition looms. It's a lot, but he tells himself to focus on one step at a time. First, pass the exam. Taking a breath, he enters. Eyes closed, he braces himself, then bumps into someone. He quickly apologizes, ready to be blamed, but the girl also says sorry, then freezes when she recognizes him. Koshi stares, confused. He has no idea who she is. After reintroducing herself, Ellie waits as Koshi heads into the cram school to complete his registration for summer classes. When he returns, they stroll together, falling into easy conversation. Their talk soon becomes nostalgic as they reflect on their childhood and close friendship during grade school. Koshi is struck by Ellie's newfound confidence and maturity. Sensing his reaction, Ellie smiles and mentions she's now an amateur model. Impressed, Koshi listens as she suggests they go somewhere more meaningful to continue catching up. She leads him to the playground they often visited as kids, calling it the ideal spot for heartfelt talks. She dashes playfully toward the slides, laughing, while Koshi notices a stairway leading to a quiet part of the park where he once cared for a stray cat with a girl he liked. Just as he gets lost in thought, Ellie calls out, breaking his reverie. She grabs his arm and pulls him along. Near an old faucet, they recall filling water balloons and playing with friends. Suddenly inspired, Ellie challenges him to a water balloon match. The loser buys ice cream. Koshi protests that they don't have balloons, but Ellie, grinning, runs off and returns moments later with a bag of them. Koshi, amused, asks why Ellie didn't just buy the ice cream, but she insists it'll taste better if she earns it. While prepping water balloons, she outlines the rules, 3 each, and the first one hit loses. She hands Koshi average-sized ones, but overinflates her own to cheat, only for them to burst before the game starts. Drenched, Ellie laughs it off. Koshi offers to find a towel, but she refuses, saying she'll dry off soon. Still concerned, he urges her to rest by a kiosk and promises ice cream. At that, she happily requests her favorite popsicle. While Koshi walks to the store, he worries about Ellie's recklessness and winces, thinking about what TEHCNICAL would say if she knew. The thought of her stops him briefly in his tracks. When he returns, towel and popsicle in hand, Ellie grins, already dry from the summer heat. They sit together enjoying the treat. Between bites, she asks about his university plans. Koshi answers hesitantly, admitting he never seriously considered college due to poor grades and money, but someone once encouraged him to apply to the same school. He had told her it wasn't practical. What he wanted felt far beyond his means or academic ability. Still, the way she looked at him after saying it lingered in his mind and pushed him to try anyway. Ellie listens closely, sensing there's someone he cares about. What she guesses it's someone he loves, Koshi denies it, but his awkwardness gives him away. Ellie pats his back, happy for him. She thinks the girl likely feels the same, especially if she suggested going to the same college. Koshi insists she doesn't see him that way, comparing himself to furniture. Ellie finds it strange but says love suits him, and there's still hope. While they talk, Ellie accidentally drops ice cream on him and tries to clean it, but Koshi pulls away. A chill hits him as a cold voice interrupts. He knows who it is without looking, but turns anyway. TEHCNICAL stands there, eyes sharp. Ellie looks up, surprised, then turns to Koshi for answers. He hesitates. TEHCNICAL glances at Ellie's hand and the space between them, making a biting comment. Koshi fumbles for words, mentioning he thought she was unwell. TEHCNICAL's face hardens at the comment. She shifts and confidently holds her ground, silently rejecting the idea of being too sick to go out. Shifting focus, she calmly questions Koshi about what he's doing with Ellie. Misinterpreting the tone, Ellie assumes it's praise and jumps in to explain she just invited Koshi to play with water balloons like old times, but TEHCNICAL doesn't seem to register it. She repeats her question. Koshi casually replies they were just having fun. TEHCNICAL looks stunned, her face caught between confusion and offense. Still oblivious, Ellie cheerfully invites her to join, which TEHCNICAL takes as mockery. Ellie rushes off to grab more balloons, leaving the two behind. Once alone, TEHCNICAL turns away and questions if this is really what they're doing. Koshi, not sensing her mood, sincerely agrees, thinking she's okay with it. TEHCNICAL snaps, slaps him, and as Ellie returns, begins to scold him for being insensitive, wasting time, and ignoring their future. As she vents, Ellie finally realizes TEHCNICAL is the girl from Koshi's story, the one he wants to go to college with. Trying to ease the tension, Ellie quickly claims she made Koshi play, pointing at the balloon bag. TEHCNICAL glances at it, realization setting in as her expression softens. She'd misunderstood. Ellie suddenly recognizes TEHCNICAL from their old PE class, and TEHCNICAL recalls Ellie as the girl Koshi used to hang out with. Flustered, both Ellie and Koshi apologize for dragging her into something so silly. TEHCNICAL tries to stay stern but speaks more gently. She makes an excuse to leave, but Ellie lightly grabs her hand and asks her to stay and chat like old times. She calls Koshi to get drinks, and TEHCNICAL hesitantly sits with her. When she tries to leave again, Ellie apologizes softly, admitting she's not used to boys after attending an all-girls school and seeing Koshi again brought back old feelings. TEHCNICAL brushes it off, but Ellie continues, saying she'd also be uncomfortable if someone else got close to a boy she loved. TEHCNICAL is shocked. She wants to deny it, but Ellie's confident gaze makes her pause. Ellie then compliments her, teasing that maybe her elegance is tied to her feelings for Koshi. TEHCNICAL starts to deny it again, but Ellie pulls her into a teasing side hug, urging her to face her true feelings. Embarrassed, TEHCNICAL freezes, only for Koshi to return just in time to break the tension. She instantly pulls away and whispers to Ellie never to mention it again, insisting she confessed nothing. Ellie then jumps up, says she has a photo shoot, flashes a grin, tells Koshi she'll see in a cram school, and leaves. Watching her go, TEHCNICAL fixates on her last words, then sharply questions Koshi about it. He explains he's aiming for the same college as Ellie, though unsure he can afford it. Still, he wants to try. Emotions swirl into TEHCNICAL. Pride, irritation, something deeper. She masked it by lightly scolding him, then quickly shifts to strategy. She tells him about financial aid, suggests a part-time job, and with unusual tenderness, offers to help him study. Koshi is caught off guard. The gesture is bold, surprising, and unusually heartfelt for TEHCNICAL. He tries to decline, insisting he can manage, but she cuts him off and uses her power to bring them back before he can argue. She tells him to simply say thank you, handing over her bag and reminding him to do his job like always. As he awkwardly takes it, she says she doesn't mind helping. He supports her every day without complaint. Then, she extends her hand. Koshi hesitates, then accepts it, and she grips it firmly, vowing to push him until he passes the entrance exam. Back at her place, she quickly sets up a study area and realizes just how much he's behind. She watches with concern as he struggles with even the simplest problems. Noticing the tension, Kuro tries to curl up in Koshi's lap. With a soft command, TEHCNICAL calls the cat over and Kuro obediently leaps into her arms. She strokes him gently and whispers something only he can hear, while Koshi continues working under her sharp gaze. After a long, exhausting day at cram school, Koshi and Ellie are about to head home when TEHCNICAL notices them. Seeing how drained they look, she casually suggests they unwind somewhere. Ellie perks up and recommends her go-to-family restaurant. Once there, they slide into a booth and a friendly waitress greets Ellie. After taking their orders, she mentions she's off in an hour. Ellie says she's a classmate who gives her extra fries, which is why she often comes here. Since she picked the spot, Ellie insists on covering the bill. TEHCNICAL sticks to her usual habits and orders coffee, saying she avoids carbs. As food arrives, the talk shifts to cram school. Koshi and Ellie joke about ending up in the same class and having someone familiar to struggle with. TEHCNICAL, quiet until now, starts to look annoyed. When Ellie recalls studying with Koshi as kids, TEHCNICAL snaps that he only studies around cute girls. Ellie misses the sarcasm and cheerfully says she wishes TEHCNICAL had been there back then. Maybe she'd have had better grades. She vaguely recalls skipping homework and wanting to play, but the details are fuzzy. TEHCNICAL brushes it off and instead mentions how Koshi once made her wear a cat costume to help him study. Ellie laughs and says she's jealous that even studying with them sounds fun. Wanting to join in, she suggests they all study together sometime and maybe even have a sleepover like she and Koshi used to. TEHCNICAL's tone turns sharp as she brings up the night Koshi stayed over at her place. Koshi, startled, tries to explain, but she shuts him up with a kick. Luckily, Ellie doesn't catch on. Confused by TEHCNICAL's attitude, Koshi wonders why she's acting so cold. TEHCNICAL flatly says she wants Ellie to see the real Koshi, not the sweet kid from before. After dinner, Ellie asks to talk to TEHCNICAL privately. Away from Koshi, Ellie gently apologizes if it seemed like she liked him. Calmly, she assures TEHCNICAL she's already with someone. Then smiling, she adds that if she weren't taken, she'd probably be more into TEHCNICAL than Koshi. The unexpected comment leaves TEHCNICAL speechless. Just as she tries to respond, the waitress returns. Ellie says goodbye and walks off hand in hand with the waitress, leaving TEHCNICAL blushing as the meaning sinks in. Later, TEHCNICAL finds Koshi in a park and jokes that he reminds her of Hachiko, the loyal dog. With a teasing grin, she says she and Ellie might have made fun of him a little. Her voice softens as she admits she misjudged Ellie. Elsewhere, Ruruka scolds Ellie for flirting with TEHCNICAL. At the park, TEHCNICAL shows a bag of leftover water balloons Ellie forgot and challenges Koshi. Whoever lands more hits gets to make a demand. Koshi reluctantly agrees, planning to go easy. He tosses the first balloon lazily, expecting her to dodge, but Attach spins right into it, getting soaked. She faces him with a blank look, and he begins to suspect she's trying to recreate his recent playtime with Ellie. TEHCNICAL, noticing his dazed stare, snaps at him, accusing him of thinking about Ellie. Flustered, he tries to explain, but she pelts him with balloons, catching him off guard. Turning away, she smugly reveals it was all part of her plan to win. After the game, they rest at a nearby gazebo. TEHCNICAL demands he wipe her sweat, mirroring Ellie's gesture. Koshi now sees she's copying his moment with Ellie. Unsure of her feelings, he asks if she's mad he's not serious about his future. To his surprise, she softens and gives him a rare, genuine smile. She tells him she's proud. He took charge of his future by attending cram school and is finally maturing. Koshi thinks he's off the hook, but TEHCNICAL insists he help clean her. Realizing resistance is useless, he offers to wipe her neck. She tilts her head to reveal it's already dry and says other spots need attention, letting him choose. Overwhelmed, he picks her stomach, assuming it's the safest choice. Seeing her smooth skin leaves him flustered, but he wipes it quickly. Back at the gazebo, she praises him calmly, explaining the whole game was her idea, to spend time with him and remind him of his role as her assistant. She wants him to remember this day, not the water balloon fight. When he doesn't reply, she finds he's fainted with a fever. On Summer's last day, she invites him to a spa, saying it's something she wants to do before break ends. He agrees, happy to be with her and to show his gratitude. Before exploring further, they decide to grab drinks. TEHCNICAL mentions she has 2 free drink coupons from a friend, but Koshi has already returned with 2 coffees, saying it's his treat since she invited him. Unimpressed, she rewinds time and tells him to use the coupons, and get her a vanilla latte instead. Hiding nearby, she tells him to handle the drinks properly this time. Afterward, they visit a large Nordic-style gift shop filled with trinkets, snacks, and plushies. As they browse, TEHCNICAL quietly admires a soft bunny plush. Seeing a chance to thank her, Koshi pretends to go to the restroom and secretly buys it. When he offers it, TEHCNICAL dismisses it, saying the bunny didn't matter and that looking at herself is more fulfilling. Disheartened, Koshi admits he bought it to thank her and shows the gift. Dissatisfied, TEHCNICAL rewinds time again and stops him from buying it. Instead, she insists on getting him a gift, specifically the coaster he liked earlier. To lift the mood and offer TEHCNICAL a genuine moment of fun, Koshi takes her to the nearby docks. They rent a small boat and step in together. As Koshi begins rowing, the boat drifts smoothly over the water, and both are quietly amazed by the peaceful, dreamlike setting. The shimmering reflections make it feel like they're floating in the sky. Koshi is especially surprised to learn it's TEHCNICAL's first time on a boat, given how experienced and composed she usually appears. When she offers to row so he can rest, Koshi insists on continuing so she can unwind. Annoyed by his refusal, TEHCNICAL suddenly leaps into the water without warning. She surfaces quickly, climbs back in, and loudly complains about her soaked clothes, claiming she slipped. She rewinds time again, this time to before they even boarded. But once the reset ends, Koshi finds himself alone. He spots TEHCNICAL, already dry and irritated, waiting by the rental stand. She snaps at him to hurry up so they can move on. Koshi notices she's already prepped her power again, and when he points it out, she gets defensive and blames him for being too slow, saying she had to do it all herself. She rushes forward, eager to move on and distract herself from embarrassment. They climb a quiet hill path where the wind rustles through the trees. As they walk, Koshi feels guilty about how often TEHCNICAL seemed annoyed with him today. Unsure of her true feelings, he shares his doubts, wondering if she's really enjoying herself. TEHCNICAL stops and turns the question back, asking why he's suddenly acting so dutiful. After a pause, she shyly admits the whole day was planned for him, as thanks for his hard work outside school and a break from cram school stress. Koshi halts, surprised. Slowly, he realizes she's been caring for him in her own way, helping him relax and enjoy the day. He gazes at her a moment too long, prompting her to tease him to stop acting strange. But Koshi smiles and sincerely thanks her, saying she doesn't need to do so much because her support and presence already mean a lot. He admits he feels renewed because of her and that planning the day made him happy since it was for her. TEHCNICAL hides her eyes beneath her wide-brimmed hat, caught off guard by his honesty, but soon looks up with a fond smile. Playfully, she then challenges him to share his next plan so she can decide if it's really fun. Koshi is once again in TEHCNICAL's room for what's supposed to be a study session, but things are far from peaceful. Just 30 minutes earlier, on his way there, he ran into Ellie, who lit up when she heard he was going to TEHCNICAL's and insisted on joining, calling her an incredible tutor. Despite his reluctance, Koshi couldn't refuse. Now in the calm elegance of TEHCNICAL's space, Ellie's lively energy disrupts the usual focus. She gushes over TEHCNICAL's skills, but TEHCNICAL doesn't smile once. With thinly veiled irritation, she asks Ellie why she isn't studying with her girlfriend, REUPLOAD. Unfazed, Ellie says REUPLOAD's too busy lately, and they rarely hang out. Koshi is briefly surprised. He'd forgotten Ellie once mentioned liking girls. As time drags on, his unease grows. He notices Ellie intentionally brushing TEHCNICAL's arm. Her look confirms it wasn't an accident. Koshi realizes Ellie likely came to flirt. Before he can process it, TEHCNICAL sharply tells him to run to the store. He hesitates, but when she repeats the command, he leaves. Once he's gone, Ellie says she wants to talk alone, but TEHCNICAL cuts her off and asks her to leave, saying dealing with both of them is just too much. Ellie agrees, but first asks if TEHCNICAL and Koshi are dating. Caught off guard, TEHCNICAL quickly denies it, coldly saying Koshi is beneath her. Ellie, catching the truth in her voice, smiles knowingly, sensing hidden feelings instead of contempt. She warns TEHCNICAL that Koshi is incredibly oblivious, so much so that even a direct confession might go over his head. Trying to stay guarded, TEHCNICAL pretends to speak about a friend who likes Koshi, her voice gentler as she shares this girl's struggles. How no efforts seem to reach him, leaving her feeling invisible. Amused, Ellie plays along and asks what this girl tried. Embarrassed, TEHCNICAL admits the girl tried many things: cosplaying, washing his bath, doing thoughtful things, but none got through. Ellie listens, clearly aware TEHCNICAL is talking about herself, yet touched by the raw emotion. She asks if the boy ever showed he cared. TEHCNICAL quietly recalls times he did, rushing to the park worried about her, nearly sacrificing his grades to care for her when she was sick, and planning a sweet outing that felt like a date, even if he never said so. What truly moved the girl was realizing the boy was now studying hard to get into her university. Despite her feelings, TEHCNICAL says the girl is still scared. Unsure if she's misinterpreting things or if the boy is just being polite, acting out of obligation, or worse, doing it because she's popular. Unable to hold back, Ellie grabs TEHCNICAL's shoulder, eyes earnest, and insists she tell her friend that when someone consistently goes out of their way, especially when it's inconvenient, it usually means they care. She says the boy clearly has feelings even if he doesn't recognize them yet. TEHCNICAL, surprised, nods and promises to encourage her friend not to lose hope. Then, curious, she asks Ellie if she came just for the story or partly to get closer to her. Ellie blushes, and though she says nothing, her reaction is clear. TEHCNICAL gently says there's nothing wrong with wanting closeness as long as it stays discreet. Meanwhile, Koshi returns from the store, climbing the stairs with groceries and bracing for drama. He imagines TEHCNICAL scolding Ellie for showing up uninvited, but hears laughter instead. Curious, he presses his ear to the door and thinks Ellie might be teasing TEHCNICAL. His heart races at the thought, but when he enters, all he sees is TEHCNICAL introducing her pampered black cat, Kuro. A few days into the new semester, the topic turns to uniforms. TEHCNICAL says she much prefers the winter one, complaining that the summer version is so thin it turns see-through when she sweats. Luckily, the blazer helps avoid embarrassment and is more comfortable in the cold. That's when it dawns on Koshi. If the uniform is what stops her from using her power, then she must have been rewinding time often last winter. It hits him that every time he saw her then, she might already use her ability. Noticing his blank stare, TEHCNICAL gets annoyed and snaps him out of it by suggesting a game. She tells him to turn around, uses her power briefly, and when he faces her again, her umbrella is gone. She explains the rules. He has until they reach the station to figure out how she used her power and what else changed. The winner gets to command the loser once. Koshi objects it feels unfair, but she insists the clues are always there, not just in appearance, but in behavior. It's all about paying closer attention. TEHCNICAL remarks that winning doesn't benefit her much since she already has many ways to control Koshi, but if he wins, she teasingly says he could finally make her do something embarrassing, like wearing a swimsuit in front of him. Koshi, flustered, quickly denies wanting anything like that. Still smiling, TEHCNICAL shares what her command would have been, tying him up and making him listen to recordings of her voice on loop. The thought unsettles him as they walk, with Koshi lagging slightly behind, studying her closely for any subtle clue in her walk or posture. But the more he stares, the more awkward he feels, worried others might see him as creepy. And if TEHCNICAL notices, she'll surely tease him. He spots a puddle and briefly considers using it as a mirror, but decides it's too obvious. Instead, he trusts his gut. When they reach the station, TEHCNICAL looks at him expectantly. He gives his answer, but she shakes her head. He got it wrong. She explains he overlooked several subtle hints in her behavior. Disappointed, Koshi wonders if overthinking cost him the win. Still, he accepts the loss, though it clearly stings. To his surprise, TEHCNICAL admits she's a little let down too. She was curious what he might have asked of her. Her voice softens as she mentions that she'd made things easier by leaving obvious hints, but Koshi missed everyone. His face flushes with embarrassment, shocked he didn't catch on. As she heads to the train, TEHCNICAL playfully reminds him she still hasn't chosen his role. On board, their chat shifts to the upcoming school festival and their class's plan to perform Cinderella. TEHCNICAL brings up how Kashi's class ran a haunted house last year, teasing him for barely doing his part. He admits he doesn't care much for festivals, partly due to his limited social life, but is surprised she remembers, given they weren't in the same class. She explains that as student council president, it's her job to know. Then, with a more serious look, she tells him he'll be acting this year. Since she's Cinderella, it would make sense for backstage staff to keep rushing to her. She urges him to take a supporting role, ideally one always on stage. Once in class, TEHCNICAL gets straight to work, organizing ideas and asking for role preferences. Unsurprisingly, everyone agrees she's the ideal Cinderella. She then asks for sound team volunteers. Noticing a chance to avoid attention, Koshi raises his hand, but TEHCNICAL immediately glares at him and rewinds time to write after the class decides on Cinderella. Now acting casually, she calls Koshi up to help write names as students choose their roles. Her real goal is to keep him close in case she needs to use her ability again. As volunteers start speaking up, Koshi stands silently behind her, unsure. TEHCNICAL tries stalling for time, but Saya, a top student with a shady reputation among girls, confidently volunteers. Others withdraw, assuming his charm guarantees success. Quietly, TEHCNICAL tells Koshi she might have to make Sia her second closest if he takes the role, hinting Sia wants special treatment. Realizing she may have to share her secret with someone like Saya, Koshi abruptly raises his hand and volunteers to be the prince. As expected, Sia dominates the vote, his charm and self-assurance easily swaying most classmates, while Koshi gets just one vote. Once the results are settled and the crowd disperses, Koshi walks beside TEHCNICAL, shoulders drooping, apologizes for failing to try harder, feeling he disappointed her. When she doesn't answer right away, dread hits him until she finally replies, slightly annoyed, revealing she only mentioned another closet to push him to volunteer and never planned to pick Saya. She says there's no need for a second closet since Koshi will act as the prince's guard, meaning he can stay close during the play unnoticed. She smirks, strides ahead, and expects him to follow. As they head home, she nonchalantly tells him to have fun acting. Koshi reflects on this and recalls that despite losing, someone voted for him. When he mentions it, Tekken just grins and claims it was probably a curious classmate. The class throws themselves into festival prep, spending homeroom and after-school time building props, memorizing lines, and adjusting costumes. On the last day before the event, TEHCNICAL gives a brief pep talk urging everyone to help wherever they can. Koshi lingers back, assuming she doesn't need him, but she unexpectedly calls him over to help paint a backdrop. He accepts, but right before they start, he overhears some classmates gossiping, wondering why Tatch even wastes time on him. He tries to brush it off, but their whispers stick in his mind as he paints, causing his concentration to slip. Unaware, he messes up an important part of the set, catching the attention of others who loudly scold him for being sloppy. Before it escalates, TEHCNICAL quietly uses her power, ruining time to moments before painting begins. Hiding behind a prop, she calls Koshi over to help her get ready in case she needs to use her ability again and mildly scolds him for ruining the key piece. Before Koshi can finish assisting her, voices call for TEHCNICAL, so she peeks out to see what's happening. As she listens and gets ready to step out, Koshi tries fixing her materials but fails, making it slip and almost fall just as TEHCNICAL goes to help the others. When she steps out to guide the volunteers, a wooden prop tips over, but she catches it smoothly and hands it back. Koshi hurries over, embarrassed, admitting he couldn't secure it right. She calmly tells him she already handled it while talking to the teacher and gently reminds him to be more careful next time. Despite the slight scolding, her tone softens and she encourages him to stay focused on the prep. Together, they go back to painting and assisting classmates who need help. TEHCNICAL even slips into the maid outfit meant for her role. Though tattered to match Cinderella's hardships, it still looks graceful on her. As dusk settles, the class wraps up most tasks and she delivers a brief, uplifting speech, thanking everyone and urging them to do their best on stage. After she dismisses them, the students pack up. Koshi is about to leave when he sees TEHCNICAL's message telling him to wait by the rooftop stairs. Kira goes early and waits. When she shows up, she unlocks the rooftop door and Koshi steps into the crisp night air under a starry sky. Softly, she says she wanted to share the view with someone, admitting it might be her last chance to watch the school's night sky before focusing on university entrance exams next year. She smiles, saying this year has been fun thanks to Koshi's help as her closet, and she's happy they'll enjoy the festival together. He awkwardly says there's always the festival in 2 years. She glares, suspecting he plans to flunk just to stay. Flustered, Koshi explains he meant the university festival since he intends to follow her there, so they can make more memories. TEHCNICAL falls silent and the pause unsettles Koshi until she resumes, shifting the topic to her view of Cinderella. She confesses she once disliked the tale, annoyed by how Cinderella tolerated her fate instead of changing it herself. Now though, TEHCNICAL relates to her, realizing that finding the bravery to act can be tougher than enduring hardship. Resolute, she decides to act on her own emotions, her face red with shyness as she clutches his hand, only to sneeze unexpectedly. Koshi misunderstands, assumes she's cold, and hurriedly wraps his jacket around her, which flusters TEHCNICAL, irritated at him for missing the moment and herself for ruining it. The next morning, the school festival begins. Full of anticipation, TEHCNICAL instructs the class to do one final read-through an hour before performing to calm their minds. Everyone agrees, but notices Sia is missing, creating tension before rehearsal. Koshi tries to stay composed alone in the corner until she drags him into the hallway, saying she can't stand seeing him so tense. She suggests doing something fun to help him unwind. Koshi is briefly moved by what he thinks is concern, but TEHCNICAL bluntly says she just wants him calm enough not to mess up the play. As they walk, Koshi grows more uneasy when other students gossip about how close they look, so he quickly pushes Taka into the nearest attraction. Inside, the place turns into a horror scene as a voice greets them. Koshi silently congratulates himself for dodging the rumors, but when he lets TEHCNICAL go first, he sees her frozen in fear. He remembers she's easily frightened like during thunderstorms. He offers to leave, but she stubbornly says she's fine and moves ahead, only to get jump scared and instinctively rewind time back to the entrance. Koshi tries again to get her to leave, but she claims she faked her fear to calm him down and marches toward the exit. Just then, the student in a creepy outfit creeps up behind Koshi. TEHCNICAL notices too late, resets time again, and fusses over him to check he's okay. Koshi softly comforts her, reminding her that everything in the haunted house is just pretend. Accepting this, TEHCNICAL awkwardly steps back, regaining her usual calm attitude. She claims her worry and fear were merely an act to encourage Koshi. As they continue, he feels a quiet thankfulness, realizing that despite her words, she truly tries for him. Silently, he admits he finds her fear of ghosts cute, which makes him smile, but she catches him grinning and snaps at him for daydreaming instead of paying attention. Before he can respond, she squeaks when something pulls at her foot. A student in a huge spider suit appears, and though fake, it looks too real for her. She shrieks and jumps onto Koshi. He tries to soothe her, but a bunch of fake spiders drops from above, scaring her again. She runs off, leaving him behind, and ends up caught in a big web decoration. He hurries to free her, but she repeats it's just an act. As he works to get her loose, they hear other students coming in. Seeing her stuck awkwardly, Koshi panics and blocks her with his body, pretending to be a ghost to scare the others off, but they just ignore him and leave. At last, TEHCNICAL breaks free, and they leave the haunted house together. Koshi says sorry for pulling her into it, but she brushes it aside, saying it turned out fine since he looks calmer and even pulled off some spontaneous acting under stress. Back in the classroom, they're about to start practice when a worried classmate runs to TEHCNICAL saying Saya, who plays the prince, is missing and unreachable. Just as panic spreads, Saya shows up battered and bleeding, claiming a truck hit him but insisting he can still act. As he coughs up blood, Koshi begs TEHCNICAL to rewind time to stop the crash, but she quickly decides to swap him out and declares Koshi the new prince. With little say in the matter, Koshi reluctantly takes the role of the prince in their production. The entire audience waits anxiously for TEHCNICAL's show to start, and soon the stage comes alive as the curtains part, revealing TEHCNICAL playing Cinderella. While she performs, the crew scrambles behind the scenes to get ready for what's next, and Koshi scans the script, trying to steady his nerves. He hadn't been given a choice but reminds himself that even though the prince shows up frequently, he doesn't speak much. He decides to memorize just enough dialogue for each scene to keep his mind clear. On stage, Cinderella's stepmother splashes tea on TEHCNICAL, forcing her to scrub it away. Her heartfelt portrayal captivates the entire audience, giving the class hope that their play will be successful. As Koshi stays locked onto his lines, Cinderella is stunned when her stepsisters abandon her despite their promise to take her to the ball. She collapses when they admit they destroyed her late mother's dress, the one she dreamed of wearing. Under the spotlight, TEHCNICAL sings her part flawlessly, and the fairy godmother's voice follows. Vibrant lights flicker to symbolize magic as the curtain falls for a quick set change. Koshi senses his moment on stage is near and his chest tightens with nerves. The cast buzzes with excitement, but Koshi hears only his racing pulse. TEHCNICAL gently encourages him to just have fun out there, which soothes him slightly. She then reappears on stage, now adorned in an elegant gown that sharply contrasts with her ragged earlier outfit. While watching, Koshi recalls TEHCNICAL's words from the previous night, that this would be their final high school cultural festival. Soon, his entrance will be introduced. Though anxious, he steps forward, resolved to make it unforgettable for her. He heads her way but freezes at the sight of the audience. Forgetting his lines, he hears whispers among the crowd and panics, convinced he's ruined it all. In that instant, TEHCNICAL shoves him down and uses her power to rewind them to just before the scene change. She drags him backstage, chastises him, then softens her voice, telling him to ignore the crowd and focus only on her. Their peers summon them back, and before stepping away, she repeats that he should look at her alone. The play resumes, and TEHCNICAL elegantly returns to the stage. Koshi inhales deeply to steady himself. When his moment comes, he advances, thinking how thoughtful she truly is. Her tough words were exactly what he needed. As he approaches, he resists peeking at the audience, kneels, and clearly invites Cinderella to dance. TEHCNICAL pauses, a faint smile forming as she places her hand in his and agrees. Koshi feels a quiet triumph, proud he did it. He remembers that the lights should go black while a spotlight highlights TEHCNICAL's solo, then shifts straight into the dance scene. He closes his eyes, waiting for the lights, but when he opens them, he's startled to find himself kneeling behind her. Sensing her unspoken cue to get ready for her next trick, a wave of dread hits him. He forgot the materials. Out of nowhere, TEHCNICAL starts singing, cleverly weaving directions into her song. She hints for him to check his pocket. Puzzled but compliant, he discovers the supplies hidden in his costume. She must have stashed them beforehand. Relieved by her planning, Koshi hurriedly attaches them while staying out of sight. Her singing grows more powerful, enthralling the crowd as he carefully synchronizes his actions with hers. Near the finale, TEHCNICAL strides to the front, her voice peaking with emotion as she surveys the audience. She spins and Koshi twirls with her, locking the final piece in place just as she finishes. The lights fade, then return with both back in position. Soon he's dancing with her naturally, the earlier fear gone as he simply enjoys the play. The story builds to its high point. The stepmother objects to Cinderella trying on the slipper, but the prince stands firm. Under the focused spotlight, Koshi stays calm and speaks smoothly. Behind the scenes, panic grows. Someone misplaced the spare prince outfit. On stage, Koshi kneels to slip the shoe on TEHCNICAL's foot. She quietly mocks him, making him flinch. Suddenly, Saya bursts in, accusing Koshi of being a fraud. The crowd, fooled into thinking it's part of the act, gasps. Koshi freezes as Saya declares he's just a commoner posing as royalty. TEHCNICAL and Koshi share baffled looks before picking up on their friends' signals to play along. Instantly, TEHCNICAL fakes shock, staying perfectly in character. Saya, unusually fired up, mocks Koshi's hands as unfit to touch Cinderella, and his obsession unsettles Koshi, who suspects Saya plans to steal the final act. Annoyed, Koshi interrupts, insisting he won't surrender Cinderella so easily and accusing Saya of thinking only of himself. Determined, Koshi vows to be the one to make her happy. Behind him, TEHCNICAL gazes at him in wonder. The crowd erupts at his bold confession, Ellie squeals, and the crew spins it into an unexpected plot twist. As the narrator speaks, TEHCNICAL boldly kisses Koshi, stunning him. He nearly breaks character, but she gently urges him to escape with her. When Seiya brings up the slipper, she shrugs it off and leaves with Koshi through the cheering audience. Ellie hugs Rura, enchanted by the twist, and the narrator declares love triumphant. The play becomes an instant hit, and classmates beg Seiya to do it again later. Some girls tease TEHCNICAL about the kiss. Flustered, she claims it was to save the scene, and begs them not to spread it. Koshi overhears, blushing in silence. Afterward, while everyone else enjoys the festival, Koshi and TEHCNICAL sit alone in a quiet classroom, watching from the window and talking about the play's success. She praises him and asks if he made good memories this time. Koshi can't focus, the memory of the kiss stuck in his thoughts. He keeps sneaking glances at TEHCNICAL, curious if it meant anything deeper. Catching him watching, she teases him, asking what's on his mind. Noticing his unease, she grins and warns that if he can't guess, she might kiss him again to help him think. She leans in and Koshi braces himself, but instead she taps his forehead, joking it'll jumpstart his brain and promising another flick if it doesn't. She tells him to answer properly, threatening to reset the date and sabotage the play if he fails. Koshi freaks out, but she laughs it off, insisting she just wants his truthful response. He admits he believes she wants him to stay in her closet. Silently, TEHCNICAL uses her power and Koshi fears time will loop back to the festival's beginning, but instead, he's back where they started talking. When he looks over, she's staring out the window, unimpressed, and warns she'll flick him again if needed. Their exchange ends when TEHCNICAL remembers it's time for her final lines. She orders Koshi to remain in her closet until he deciphers the kiss's meaning. With a playful grin, she tells him to assist her again, and when he's done, she reaches out her hand, inviting him to step outside with her. If you're enjoying the journey of this series, please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any updates. All of your support helps me to keep bringing more high-quality recaps.